What is up, everybody? We're less than 1 week away now from the NFL draft for this year. If you haven't seen this before, I recommend you guys watching the first four, but this is going to be my fifth and final mock draft for this year. So excited for Thursday when the draft happens. But basically, how I do this is I go over about 3 or so picks from each round, and then I do that for like the first 4 rounds, and then after that I'll go over majority of the trades, and then to end it off, this is new, I will be going over my 5 teams that I predict to have the best total draft. Let's hop right into it. Big shocker. To me, it makes perfect sense. I have the New Orleans Saints drafting Jeremiah Love at that number 8 overall pick. And I get they still have Alvin Kamara, but he's gotten a lot older. He's regressed. I really like Devin Neal, but I just don't see him being a long-term starter for the Saints. I think he's capable of it. I just personally don't think he will fit and work out for the Saints in a long-term run. So that's why I have them getting Tyler Shough, a really good weapon, where he can just rely on that run game a little bit, takes off a lot of the pressure on him, and basically evens out the playing field for both Shough and now Jeremiah Love. And the Saints have a pretty dang good offensive line, so I expect that duo of Tyler Shough and Jeremiah Love to be pretty fun to watch. Then I have the Panthers trading up to pick 16 to pick Kenyon Sadiq. Now, I've been thinking about this for a while. To me, the Panthers' most likely picks would either be an edge rusher, most likely Akeem Mesidor from Miami, or going with Kenyon Sadiq. And more I think about it, kind of aligns with the Tyler Shough thing. They need to get Bryce Young, a receiver who has sure hands. They got him Tet, right? T-Mac is physical. He's taller. He's pretty good at catching. But getting your quarterback a reliable tight end makes all the difference, especially for a young quarterback. One that a lot of people probably won't expect is I have the Rams at pick 13 going with Jermon McCoy. I know they just got Trent McDuffie, but in my opinion, they are still one superstar cornerback away from winning the Super Bowl. I think they are that close. And Jermon McCoy is probably the second best corner in this draft class. So, with him still available, I don't see how they go for anyone besides Jermon McCoy. This kid is an absolute stud. I have a feeling he's going to be special in the league. Now, one that I've only thought about since the Broncos trade for Jalen Waddle is that I truly believe the Dolphins are so desperate for a wide receiver that they will take Mekhi Lemon that early in the first round. They will take him with their first round pick at pick 11. Now, realistically, if he doesn't go there, I could see him falling all the way to around 22-ish, maybe a little further down, maybe a little before. But I think the Dolphins need a wide receiver so bad, they're willing to take a chance on someone who might have coaching issues. Because frankly, they need him. I mean, that's all it comes down to in the end. Then I have the Eagles getting a steal. Howie Roseman is so legit. It annoys me how good this man is. I believe they will trade up to a 15th overall pick to take one of the best tackles in this draft in Spencer Furneaux. Now, the Eagles they have a really good line still, but they could use another tackle to really give them, once again, the top 10 offensive line in the league. And Spencer Furneaux is definitely a long-term superstar that can give you that. Then, for my last one that I will break down for a first round, I have the Titans trading back into the first round to take Akeem Mesidor at pick 27. Now, he fell a little further than I would have expected. It just kind of didn't play out for him to go any higher. As I did have Keldrick Falk going before him to the Raiders. But we all know the Titans need one more edge rusher. And to get Akeem Mesidor is such a huge win for the Tennessee Titans. Moving into the second round, the very first pick of the second round, I have the New York Jets drafting Jacob Rodriguez. And this, I really didn't think much about until this mock draft because they had Jermaine Johnson. He wasn't the best linebacker, but he did his job. He got it done. He held his load. But without him, as they traded for T'Vondre Sweat, which was a fleece by the Jets, you probably won't ever hear me say that again. But they did it. Give them their flowers. But Jacob Rodriguez, probably someone who would go around pick 40 or so. But the Jets don't want to risk him getting picked by someone else, as they desperately need a linebacker because they need a Mike now, and we already knew they needed a Sam before the trade happened. Now, I'll give you two back-to-back here. Denzel Boston to 49ers, have the 49ers trading up for him, and Chase Bisontis to the Chargers. First, let's go Denzel Boston. I do have him falling out of the first round, but he goes 35, and I think a lot of people having him go to like 42. But the 49ers need a wide receiver, especially with not bringing back Jauan Jennings. Don't exactly understand why that is. Don't exactly understand why he's still a free agent, period. And then let's talk about the Chargers real quick. We all know they desperately need an offensive guard. And in Chase Bisontis, well, what do they get? They get the second best guard in this draft. You could argue Keelan Rutledge, who had a great combine, or even Emmanuel Pregnan from Oregon is better, but I would disagree. I think if you look at the film, Chase Bisontis is a stud. He is an elite protector, and he would really give Justin Herbert some security. Now, let's talk about something that I believe makes history. I have the Vikings taking Jadarian Price out of Notre Dame. I don't know if you've noticed, you may not have, but this would mean that he is the second running back overall taken from the board. Don't quote me on this, but I am almost positive that this would be the first time ever that a running back from the same college, two running backs from the same college, were the first two taken in the same draft year. I'm pretty sure that this would be the first time it happens. It'd be really cool to see, but let's also go over the logics behind it. We all know the Vikings need a running back. So why do they go Jadarian Price instead of maybe someone like Mike Washington? Well, as much as I like Mike Washington out of Arkansas, to me, he is probably one of the speediest running backs we've seen in a while. It's not what the Vikings need. I think the Vikings need a shifty back that can really take the load off of J.J. McCarthy. What I would be worried with Mike Washington from Arkansas for Vikings is that they would end up overusing him and he would become injury prone. Not his fault, but just because of how the situation would unfold. Now, another interesting one, in my opinion, is that I have the Steelers taking Chris Bell out of Louisville. I think they could go Omar Cooper in the first round, but I personally do not think they desperately need wide receivers, so I had them, I believe, trading out of the first round and then taking a wide receiver and Chris Bell in the second round. Go over one more quick one. I have the Panthers taking H.A. Holsey as the safety. Seen a lot of mocks where I take Dylan Feeneman. I believe I made a mock where I took Dylan Feeneman in the first round. But I think if Sadiq falls or if they trade up, they would rather Sadiq over Feeneman. Let's hop straight into the third round here. And I have the Texans and the Titans both going defense. I have the Texans going Anthony Hill Jr., who I think is probably a top 5 linebacker this year. And if you really look at his game, he's from Texas. He plays different. And I mean that when I say his game is mainly focused on IQ, but he also has that physical strength that really puts him above others, and he can make a great impact with the Texans, as they definitely need another linebacker. And then we have the Titans, and they do have a good safety in Kevin Winston. Not many people know his name, but cornerback-wise, they're really lacking. They really have no star power there, especially since they just let go of L'Jarius Sneed. But in my opinion, that was the right decision, as he has lost a lot of his strengths. So now let's head into the end of this third round. I have the Seahawks trading up to get Mike Washington Jr. And so you might be wondering, why do I have the Seahawks take Mike Washington Jr. if I'm already not high on this player? Well, the thing is here, the Seahawks have the best offensive line in the league, in my opinion. So when you pair up a really speedy and quick running back with a really good offensive line, he has to do a lot less work. My scares for if he was on the Vikings, like I said, I believe that he would get injured a lot because they'd be relying on him too much. So the Seahawks would be a perfect fit for him. Seahawks need a running back, but they have a strong passing game, right? So they won't have to just run the ball and give him the rock the whole time. They will be able to play even and spread it out. Now let me move into round 4. This will be the last round where I go over players, and it will only be one player that I discuss, one pick. And after that, rounds 5 through 7, I will just play some music while I show you guys. But then I will break down top 5 teams that I believe will have the best draft, and I will go through probably anywhere from 5 to 8 of the trades. So the player that I want to talk you guys through is I have the Ravens trading to get Bryce Lance out of NDS, North Dakota State. I'm so excited about this pick because it would mean we would finally get a tall, physical receiver. Okay, guys, I am now just going to play some music for you all. Okay, so now let me break down some of the trades that I mocked. I have the Browns trading up. This is for them to draft Ruben Bain. I believe they would have to give up their 6th overall pick, and an extra second from next year, though. And I think this would be very even for both sides and be realistic. Now, this one is definitely logical because it's 22 picks, but it's also still in the first round, so every pick matters. So I have the Cowboys trading up to draft Sonny Styles, which I think is a fantastic decision by them. And yes, they do have to give up both pick 12 and their 3rd round pick for pick 10. Okay, now I have the Carolina Panthers trading up 3 spots and only having to give up their 1st round pick. And Nick's got a safety who has been struggling as of late, and I believe they will draft Kenyon Sadiq. Okay, now this trade was a blockbuster. I have the Cleveland Browns sending over a ton of their picks, but they also send over Jerry Jeudy for Steelers next year 3rd round pick and their current 1st round pick. This makes a lot of sense to me because Steelers could still use another wide receiver, and the Browns, I think they view Jerry Jeudy as a virus at this point. And then for your last one, we'll be breaking down for you guys. I have the Raiders trading their 2nd-round pick and 4th-round pick for your Chargers' 22nd overall pick. And yes, they did throw in Caillou, Blue Kelly, and Tyree Wilson. Couple draft busts. Tyree's played decent, but they do this to get a monster edge rusher to go alongside Max Crosby and Keldrick Falk. Now, in no particular order, but the first team, I have the Ravens, and main part about this is we get our guard of the future in Olivago out of Penn State, and we get our defensive tackle of the future in Caleb Banks. And don't let me forget to mention Eli Stowers and Bryce Lance. Then I have the Cowboys, as they got a nice couple of draft picks for a future, but they also had a great defensive draft as they got Sonny Styles, Colton Hood, and Bud Clark. I'm super high on all 3 of those guys right there. Now, we have the Packers, and the Packers don't have a first-round pick, so this was interesting. I was surprised they made it here, but when I looked it over, them being able to revamp their entire defensive backcourt, really all they needed was the cornerbacks in both D'Angelo Ponce and Keontae Scott. Keontae Scott, I'm a huge fan of. He's going to be good. Then I have the Texans, as they got some decent picks in return. Got some decent draft capital is what I mean. But they also completely revamped their offensive line. While doing that, they still made sure to focus some on their defense. And for our last team, I have the Steelers. And this is because their trades. They made a lot of trades. They also came in with the most picks overall. They ended up having a total of 11 picks. They came into this with 12, but they got a ton of next year picks in return and Jerry Jeudy. Now, thank you all for watching. This was my final mock draft of the season, or before the draft. I am super excited for Thursday, and I hope you all have a blessed day.